I want to say hello to everyone and welcome to the YouTube Mall Builders Thursday night general hangout. Thursday's hangouts are for the general discussion on mall railroading that we all can set a topic to discuss for the night. My name's Johnny Reb. I'm from Southeast Rails. Thursday's hangouts, excuse me, are the proud sponsor of the YouTube Mall Builders, the EMAG, and the YouTube Mall Builders live show, and the Tuesday night hangouts also. You can go to YouTubeMallBuilders.com and find the schedule there for the live shows, which are third Saturday of every month, and we got one coming up on the 21st, which will be 2 weeks from this Saturday. And the email comes out every other month. You can sign up for a notification, so when it comes out, you'll be notified when you download it. It is a PDF file. The schedule for the Tuesday night hangouts are also there. Tuesday nights, you have 4 different presenters. You got Dude, Gino, Troy, and Barry, and each one has their own topics and guests on their shows. And so far, they've been doing a really great job of having some good shows there. And JD and his team does a great job on the EMAG. Of course, everybody knows Big Bill and IT Barry. They do a good, really fine job on the once a month shows. So we'll get on into the show here. Tuesday night was the Gino show. He had Ron Kleiss on, and Ron was showing how to use the cardboard strips for making scenery, mountains, background scenery and all. And did a good job. It's a good way of covering a very large area because he's got some really huge mountains that he's doing on that layout. And like he said, trying to do them with foam was going to take way too much foam. And when you consider a 4x8 sheet, it's about $35 a sheet.
Yeah, and the money consideration. I mean, like
Yeah,
the peninsula that I'm looking at right now, it's going to be 3 foot mountains on 7 by 10 foot. If I carved it all out of styrofoam and it was anywhere close to solid, it'd be $500-600 worth of foam. I
yeah.
mean, foam works great for my shelves, but there's no question that I will not use foam on the peninsula. It doesn't suit the particular application. I mean,
Now all you need to do is build yourself a simple wood frame and so you have something to attach it to.
I think so. I'm still curious about how I'm going to do it. I'm thinking I'm going to use I'm still trying to keep it thin because it has a deck below it. It's not like the rest of my layout where it has 4 decks. The Peninsula only has 2. I'm thinking I'm going to use um, aluminum studs, 2 of them interspersed, wrapped around each other and glued together with liquid nails. That's Ken Patterson did that for his staging areas on his layout, and it's very, very rigid. Um, and then use hollow core doors laid on top of that, and then use spline road bed for the track work and masonite to build the helixes, and then I will use a variation of the cardboard lathing strips like Ron did. I'll use strips like he did, but then I will coat that or wrap or cover that with vinyl screen wire, like for a vinyl screen door. And
Mm-hmm.
that way I can use my scenery goop on it. So use vinyl screen and then cover it in scenery goop, I think. And then I've got an idea somebody suggested, and I don't remember who, but somebody suggested is after that's done, come back and spray foam up inside of it against the backside of the scenery goop so that there's some material there to stick trees into. That's one of my problems with the
Yeah.
screen wire method or the cardboard lathing strip method is it's hard to get trees to stand upright. You can poke a hole in there, but the tree just wants to flop around. You
Yeah.
gotta support it behind it with something. And as many
Hey,
trees as I
you
can.
just have to be careful and don't spray too much foam so it pushes the mountain back out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only going to spray like a 1 inch thick layer inside
Yeah.
of it, just a real thin layer.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't take that much to be able to support a tree.
Right. That's all I need is something to stick trees and bushes into. The scenery goop will be thin. That latex paper mache stuff I use, and then
Mm-hmm.
just use and I'm gonna use the Pro Foam, not the regular consumer bottles that you buy that are use them once and they're done, but the Pro Foam that uses the nozzle to control it. It doesn't expand as much. It's thinner. Um, it's like a bright orange color, but I don't know. That's my theory. I haven't done it yet, so it's just a theory right now.
Yeah, I think I'd probably just try. Yeah, get a frame up under it, and then put another layer of screen wire up under that. So you got about an inch or 2 inches in between the top layer and the bottom side there, and
Yeah,
just
spray
spray
foam.
some foam in between it, and let it expand out.
Yeah, that'd be easy. Cut a few little slits in the screen wire so that you can stick the nozzle of the foam up in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah. Uh, Also, this week I got a email from one of the viewers. We last week were talking about the cricket cutter. Miles Hale had done a show on Tuesday night of last week on the cricket cutter, which is a really good show, very interesting show. And the question was if we could find somebody that uses a simple CAD program for programming the cricket. Yeah, if they could, don't mind volunteering, we could do maybe a 1 hour show on how to use the CAD and then bring it into the cricket. So if anybody out there is doing that already, let us know. You can go to YouTube Mall Builders and leave a message with the dude or with the Hangout crew so we can get in contact with you and see what we can get set up.
Probably need to touch base with Miles too, because he has a community of people around him that are doing similar things. He might know somebody that we could enlist.
Yeah. Yeah, quite honestly, Miles already gave me one lead. And I hate to admit it, but I did save it, but it went to a file I didn't know. Didn't notice where it sent it to. I've been hunting for that booger. I finally come across it about, I think last night, night before. So I got to get in contact with that guy.
Sure.
I want him as a surprise guest. This is something none of y'all have talked about yet. In
Nice.
fact, nobody even thinks about it as far as mile railroading. So,
Love surprises.
yeah, I like to get him in here. But what was your question, Andy? You said you had one you wanted to ask.
I've got to. A lot of people do this too. Is that the most people come back and cut their track for electrically isolating. I don't like insulated rail joiners. Heck, I don't even use regular rail joiners. But a lot of people come back and cut their track with a Dremel or a track saw or something and stick a piece of styrene down in that and then file it to the shape of the rail so that you're electrically isolating the rail for occupancy detection or signals or blocks or whatever. You isolate the rail, stick a little shim of styrene in there, glue it in. My question is what do you glue it in there with? Because I've tried a few different glues, and when I go to file that styrene, it breaks out of there so doggone easy. Because you're filing the styrene down so that it's as thin as the web of the rail. There's not a lot of styrene left. So I
Hmm.
need a good glue. I've tried CA, I've tried contact cement. Um, I need a good glue for. Oh, I need one of two things. I need a good glue for gluing styrene into cuts in the rail for electrical isolation, or I need a good method for filling that gap up. If somebody has some other material, I thought about using the liquid tape on the ends of to fill that gap in with. I've thought about a few things, but I need a good material to fill that gap up with, or a good way to glue styrene in.
Yeah, the only thing we used out there at the store where we did a couple of isolations was just using the isolated joiners that
Yeah,
are plastic.
they look on my track work as detailed as it is. They look
Yeah,
horrible. Number one. Number two, I have a lot of electrical isolations. So
yeah.
um,
Well, The other thing is we do have a couple of places that are isolated. And I just went up there and cut it with a Dremel, and that's it. I didn't put nothing in between.
Right, that's how I've always done it for years, was just to lay on my track and then come back with a Dremel, cut the little gaps. But if the rail expands and contracts very much, it will fill that gap up and bridge that gap. So
Yeah.
what we used to do was glue styrene in the gap. Years and years ago, I used to do it this way. And then cut the styrene and then file the styrene down to match the shape of the rail.
Well, Dwight says epoxy.
Yeah, all right.
That's what I was just wondering, if you used a two-part epoxy.
There's not going to be a lot of glue left because there's not a lot of styrene left, man. I mean, you're filing it away to where there's not much there.
Well, I mean, if the styrene still pops out, just fill it up with epoxy, let it dry, carve it away.
And you could do that. You could shape that epoxy.
I guess. I mean,
I can do that. Just fill it up.
if anything, if you can't cut it, if it's too hard to cut, just take your Dremel tool and grind it down. You
Yeah,
put a little saw blade on there and use the saw blade to get the web.
Yeah, I don't care to take files to it and file it down. I can file the epoxy away. There's not a lot left because, I mean, you got to think, if you look at the end of a rail and realize how little material is there inside the web of the rail. And all that seems to break out on me. No matter what I put in there, I break the styrene out, or I haven't tried just filling it up with an epoxy. Hell, I haven't tried using an epoxy to glue the styrene in there with yet. I've tried a few other things, but nothing seems to hold the styrene against my filing. And that's me being gentle with a needle file, getting in there very delicately. It still seems to break out every time.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to file it down. I can't leave.
Hey, worst comes to worst, make a stamp and die and just stamp them out and then stick them in there. Stamp them out to the shape of the rail.
Huh. Well,
Yeah, it would be an awful lot of work.
well, maybe.
Make a die and the stamp.
Man,
You're not set up to where you can make the die. I mean the stamp, yeah, but the die would be kind of hard for you to do.
Yeah, there's just so little material. If you look at the profile of a rail, looking at the end of a rail, looking headlong down the length of a rail, there's just extremely little material there. And
it's too small for a 3D printer.
Yeah. And where I use those bolt plates on each side, you can't that span it. I can't leave it fat in the middle, or the bolt plate sticks out. It has to be filed down to match the rail profile, even at that thin point. Like I said, everything I've done so far, it just basically just breaks out of there. I've got to find, but I'm basically held up right now trying to find a technique that works. And I've tried gluing various things. So in my case, I don't put the rail down and then cut it. I have to actually put this material in as I lay the rail, because I don't use rail joiners. So at every rail joint, I electrically isolate. Screen protector material like you'd put on an iPhone or an Android phone or an iPod or iPad or whatever, some clear screen protector material, and cut that because it's so thin, so easy to cut. I cut that into a little bitty square and glued it down in there, and then took my X-Acto and started carving on it. But it breaks out, and I end up pulling it out of between the rails with my knife. I've tried a few things. I think styrene's probably going to be my best bet, so I'm using, whatever size styrene a stop sign or a for sale sign is what 20 thou or something.
Yeah.
Then I'll go back and paint that. And that I think that's going to work. That's what we used to use years ago, but years ago when I filed it out, I didn't have to file it down so accurately to meet the rail profile. I could leave a little fat at the bottom or a little fat on the sides. But now I got to file it down to where it's just as thin as the rail. I'll get a 2-part, 5-minute 2-part epoxy or something and give that a shot, though.
Yeah. For the viewers out there.
Side benefit of helping secure the rails to to where they stay in alignment. Because like I said, I don't use rail joiners, so I have to every gap I have to glue like this, and epoxy would help maintain the rail alignment because it would add that additional adhesive at each rail joint.
Yeah. I just want to remind the viewers, if you got a question, feel free to type it in. We'll do our best to try and answer it.
The O-scale guys have really got it made. They make a bolt plate for the O-scale guys that has a little tick of plastic in the middle of it, and you can stick it on the rail at rail joint sections, like around a turnout where you're electrically isolating frog and all that stuff. You can put that bolt plate on there, and there's a little plastic tick, just a little piece of plastic that goes between the two rails to keep them from expanding and making electrical contact. But at HO scale, that's too small to recreate.
Yeah.
O scale, bolt plates and tie plates and all these detail parts that I use on my track, that's trivial and even quite common in O scale, or especially O scale 2 rail. In HO scale, I think guys that are as crazy as I am are not typically doing this in HO scale.
No. I may do the the fish plates, but
I think they're worth it. They are.
I'm not going to go quite as far as you are there. I mean, I'll be laying flex track anyway, but then go back a little later and start cutting ties out and replace them with the wood ties.
Sure.
Weather them down.
Nothing wrong with flex track, and flex track has very good detail. I am a believer in hand building turnouts, but flex track's fine. But I'm hand laying all my track. But the point with bolt plates, this is a effort to return on investment kind of analysis. How much effort does it take versus what do you get back? And the way I'm doing my track, I'm not sure that the effort is worth it. I love it, and I'm definitely going to continue doing it. But for most people, I can see that the effort doesn't outweigh what you get back. But the bolt plates or the fish plates, you get a really nice detail back, and the effort's really low. It's really easy to go through every scale 39 feet, take an X-Acto, pick this, just stick it in this little piece of paper, basically, that guy who makes these things, Precision Design.
Yeah.
And I've got some metal ones, some etched metal ones that I've used that are fine. They may even look better, but these paper ones are so easy to apply. Just take an X-Acto, stick it, kind of poke it, and a little bit of thin CA, stick it on the side of the rail. Take something like a utility knife or a jeweler's saw and mark the top of the rail, put a little paint in it so that you can see that gap, and it looks like 39-foot sections of rail. It's beautiful.
Yeah, for me, I think about the time period I'm doing this transition, I think they said it was 48 feet.
39 feet. Oh, 30. I'm doing transition as well, but it's 39 feet. It was 39 feet right up until in HO standard gauge, not HO, in standard gauge, it's always 39 feet because they had 40-foot flat cars and 40-foot gons and 39 feet rail sections laid in it. And I've heard several people spout off various other sizes, 31 feet, 48 feet. I've heard several different sizes. But I assure you, it was always 39 feet on standard gauge. Narrow gauge, I think they used 31. But I don't know enough about that.
Yeah, it seemed like I read somewhere that they were using 48s, or maybe modern era is 48.
Modern era is mostly welded rail, but if you, like here on my screen, if it's screen shared, these sections are 39 feet. They're fairly standardized at 39 feet through the transition era because all those flats were 40 up through the 40s. Then they come out with the 53-foot flats. But all this stuff was 39. All this stuff was 39 feet. Speaking of which, this is St. Paul, Virginia. I just recently got this photo from some guys that were chatting on Facebook and found this old negative and got me a copy of it. This is the track work at St. Paul, Virginia, and this is the single slip turnout that I've got to build here soon with the derail. It's really cool. This is really cool. I'm going to build all this stuff. I'm going to build that interlocking tower and the interlocking control points. And
Yeah, how's that derail work? It just pop up there or something?
this inside rail works like a point. It comes over.
Oh,
But it's a little bit weird here because it's reversed from what direction I would normally think it would be. But anyway, it's a little bit weird right here. But this is all going to be kind of fun to build. I got to figure out how to fabricate these little support brackets at each point, and then I'm just going to use a small wire to build this to build all this stuff. And upper quadrant semaphores for train orders, and then the big position light signals that the N&W used back here. This is a really cool. I mean, it doesn't look like this now. It just uses 2 turnouts, not this single slip. I had never seen this picture, and all my track plans, my design, and even the piece of homosote that I currently have cut for that section of unfinished layout was just using 2 number 10 turnouts, much like it is today. I thought it was like that. This guy showed me how it used to look, so now I gotta go back and kind of redesign it. I hadn't built it anyway, so no big deal. But this is the way it will be built like this. And this is I've never built a slip turnout of any kind. This is a little bit weird of this is a really tight radius single slip turnout anyway. It's going to be interesting. I've never built a complex turnout. I've always just built turnouts. I've never built a
I like
turnout.
see a logo coming through there, 60, 70 miles an hour.
Oh, this will be slow.
Yeah,
Yeah, this will definitely be slow order.
yeah.
But these are 2 different railroads. This is the Clinchfield Railroad heading south away from us, and this is the Norfolk and Western Railroad heading west away from us. And nowadays they don't have a grade crossing or anything like this, or a level crossing or a diamond. They have 2 turnouts. So the Clinchfield, well, now the CSX Railroad, switches onto the N&W main for a few feet, and then there's another turnout opposing it, and it switches back off from it. So it crosses, but with shared trackage for a few feet. But back then, in this era, they crossed like this, and the Norfolk and Western ran this tower and controlled the crossing and controlled when the Clinchfield could cross it. But the reason this single slip is here is because the Clinchfield had trackage rights on the N&W on this left trackage, so the Clinchfield trains would cross over onto this N&W track and run about 15 miles down the line to a branch line that the Clinchfield ran, owned, and operated, but that was off from the Norfolk and Western main line. This is the section of railroad I'm modeling. I'm modeling from that branch, and including that branch, all the way up to where it goes back together. So I get to model the N&W main line and get to run Clinchfield trains on it. So anyway.
All right, before you take that picture out, I'm assuming the derailer is if a train's coming down through there.
Yeah.
If he didn't get the stop signal, that would derail him before he comes into the slip if another train's sitting there.
You would think, but it should be turned the other direction for that. Because the point is to put it on the ground. And it should normally a derail made like this, if it was meant to keep cars that are coming from the bottom of the picture from coming toward the top of the picture, from entering that interlocking tower or that interlocking plant, normally that derail would be headed the other direction, and it would normally be on the outside rail, and it would switch the rail to the outside and pull the cars down onto the ties. But in this picture here, that derail is installed backwards from what I would think would be normal. But
yeah, because you got a bank right there that looks like the train's rolling down.
Yeah, it's
And
weird.
we're getting
I could put it in just like that, but
Yeah, we're getting a bad echo off of Andy.
oh,
But
still.
Andy, any chance they've got the photo you're looking at in reverse somehow?
Well, the photo was actually was reversed. It was a negative, so it was naturally it was reversed when you scanned it in because it didn't go through the production process of turning it into a photo in a darkroom. But I reversed it on my computer. I flipped it. So it is the correct orientation. But that doesn't explain that derail being, it's not to left to right reversed. It's like along the line reversed. Like in theory, it should have been pointed. Um,
The other way.
yeah, should have been pointed the other way, and like it should have been to where okay. So this right here, there's a point right here that's actually pushed against this rail, and there's a turnout mechanism that pushes that rail over toward the center. So a car heading in this direction would get pulled toward this right here and get dropped right here on these outside ties. So the derail is meant to take cars coming this direction and drop them out onto ties. Which also you have to take into account that there's a grade here. This is downhill and it's heading uphill toward that train. It's all uphill for miles and miles and miles, and they ran helpers through here, and actually both railroads ran helpers mostly in both directions. So again, another point that makes this section of the country so cool to model is you got that second track back there is a helper pocket. It's back there so a helper can kind of hang out. But normally that derail would be pointed that way, so that if a car rolled this way, it would pull the rails over the wheels flanges over onto the ties and drop it down onto the ties. And if you were going to do that, you'd normally put it on the outside, so that if it did roll over, it didn't roll over here onto this other track. So I don't know, kind of weird. But that's the thing, is we all talk about exactly what's prototype and look at people's railroad and say, oh, that's not prototypical, that's not the right way to do it. But you go look at pictures of the real railroad, they done things in every way imaginable. And I said earlier tonight when I was talking to a couple guys, Dude and a couple other guys were on here, and we were looking at some of these pictures, and I was looking at Google Maps and showing them how this section of railroad went. I said everything that modelers do that is typically considered a mistake or not prototypical is exactly the way this railroad was. It was built up on the side of a mountain, not along a river. It's got all these bridges and tunnels one after another, and the tunnels are too tight, the curves are too tight, the bridges are too tall, and they did everything in the world. They did it all wrong, but it's an incredibly interesting section of railroad, which is, that's why I modeled it.
Real quick, Scott SSX, he said hello. His camera's out again, so I guess we make faces at him tonight, and he can't make faces back.
Good deal. He can still join with audio.
Yeah.
Am I still causing an echo, by the way?
Off and on.
I can reload.
Yeah. Phil, you had a question?
Yeah, my question was, I was wondering if anybody has tried to make their own decals, custom decals, or signage for their model railroad. I've looked at some software that possibly could be used. I found a product made by Testers. It said it was a custom decal software and kit, but the reviews on it from Amazon is everybody saying don't buy it, it's a rip-off because you can't export or import images out of it. You can only use what's on their CD that come with it, and it says on the outside of the box that you can import and size and do all that, but then once these people have bought it, they've discovered that they've had to buy other software to be able to do any slight manipulation with it. And I was wondering, I know that you can buy the paper through Testers to print decals on. You can also get it like at Office Max, Home Depot, or not Home Depot,
Hobby Lobby.
Staples, yeah, Hobby Lobby, places like that. But what I'm looking for is the best software to be able to do that with, other
Uh,
than Photoshop. I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a program like Photoshop.
yeah,
Photoshop's so hard to use.
you can do probably go with Photoshop Lite that they have for less than $100, but
Elements, yeah.
check with Gino, the Alabama Beltline. I
Yep.
know he does Facebook too. He's doing all of his signage.
Yeah, I left a comment for him on his latest video, and he hasn't gotten back to me. I guess I'll have to see if I can go find an email address for him. And
You mentioned
Go to his YouTube channel and you can leave him a message there.
or
oh,
Facebook. I tend to chat more with him on Facebook than G+.
okay, let's see what he's using.
What's his name on Facebook?
I think hang on, I'll tell you. Yeah, he's done his own. I didn't think about that when we were talking about this, Phil. He's done his own. All of his are custom decals. I mean, he even done that bicentennial.
Right.
Now, I think Big Bill has printed out some signs, but he printed them just on paper. Yeah, did the razor blade to the back of it, so I think he just used the word processor for that.
Yeah.
Right, for like signs and stuff like George Celios. He he's done all those signs on all those buildings on his beautiful Manchester on his beautiful layout. Most of his signs he cut out of magazines and books and sanded the back of them and made paper signs. But here lately he's been doing it all from a computer, and I think he is just printing them on paper. His Facebook is just under just Gino Sharp.
Okay.
I'll place a link in the chat for us.
I can probably find it, but if you want to, that'd be great.
Yeah, Gino's the only one I know of that can, that's doing that, a lot of it. So,
I know that Bill Graham has sent away and had some decals made.
I was getting ready.
for his rolling stock, yeah.
Yeah, I think he used that Dave's decals, and I bought some of his off of from his site, and they're good decals, but I kind of wanted something else to do rather than building all the time and messing with terrain.
Well, you can more personalize it too.
Well, and what he wants is something sadly, that should be available, but is not.
Unfortunately.
I mean, it's one of those railroads that, it's one of those railroads. He's doing Pierre Marquette, and it's one of those railroads that doesn't get a lot of attention by modelers. I suffer from the same thing. The N&W has a lot of coverage. It's easy to model, but the Clinchfield is rather tough to model.
Yeah. The other one that I'm having a hard time is the Michigan Central. There is a Central Michigan line, but the old Michigan Central line was part of the New York Central line. They owned them, and they were a subsidiary, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't find anything hardly at all for them. And I've got a bunch of unmarked, undecorated, cars that I'd like to be able to reproduce their logo and make some decals to put on my stuff.
Decals. Sadly, decals have lost a lot of their due attention because so many people buy just ready to run stuff, and I'm guilty of it too. But there's a lot of fallen flag railroads that are not as well represented as they should be. Really, custom painting and decaling equipment is quickly becoming a lost art in our hobby, and it's kind of a sad thing because it's not hard to decal.
Yeah, I got quite a few just here in the state of Georgia. I got the family line, the coastline.
Yeah.
The coastline family line when they merged together.
Yeah.
Got the southern.
81. In 81.
Central of Georgia. There's still some trains running, but they're just freight trains, and they're moving marble and lime and stuff like that. They don't have the lines that they used to in Georgia. They
No,
just got a few lines. I've yet to see one running. I tried to catch him while I'm up there, in Tate and all that, where all the marble and lime is. I haven't been able to catch any running lately.
yeah, but there's so many times that if you're going to model any prototypes that you're interested in, unless it's the Pensy or the New York Central, Norfolk and Western, Union Pacific, if it's not one of those big boys,
Yeah, Santa
you
Fe.
have to do a little bit of custom work, at least a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, thankfully, we've got a lot more stuff, and people can talk about this hobby dying all they want to. There's more stuff available in this hobby right now than I would have ever, years ago, that I would have ever thought would have happened. I mean, there's so much stuff available, so many products available. Um, but it still don't cover everything. That'd be impossible. So,
Well, like you said, Joe, we got such a variety of different lines, follow flag lines, that, people could model too. It wouldn't be all that hard.
yeah, they're really interesting.
Decaling is all it is, repainting and decaling the locos and rolling stock.
Well, those are some of the most interesting lines out there. I mean, the UP and the SP and even the My Beloved N&W and the Pensy and the New York Central. A lot of those are very hard to model. They were huge railroad empires that covered hundreds, if not thousands, of miles. But there's all these little lines like the Central Michigan or whatever Phil was talking about, or these little short lines that are infinitely more modelable, or more achievable to model. They would make great small layout material to model, but you can't get anything for them. So custom decaling, would help a person build a small railroad. I mean, think if Jimmy had his own custom railroad, he could model a small short line that would well suit the size of his room,
Yeah.
much more so than say the CSX or anything.
Yeah, because nowadays that's pretty much all you see. The whole east side of Georgia is Norfolk Southern. The west side is CSX.
Well, see, they're starting to short line off, though, now. So the CSX and the Norfolk Southern, among other railroads, have decided that they can't make money on these small branch operations. So up here, we've got companies like R.J. Corman, and just recently, a new railroad incorporated out of Paducah, called the Paducah and Louisville, the P&L, and they have these funny green-colored locomotives that are now running through my small town. And so they've taken this small short line piece of class 2 main line here, and it used to be all CSX trains, and now the Paducah and Louisville is now running all this freight. So again, it's more modelable to do that.
So there's a chance Central Georgia may come back.
Yeah, or some other short line. They probably will not take on that railroad's charter. It's not like banks. For example, in the state of Kentucky, there's been 205 banks, and there's not been a new bank charter issued by the state in 90 years. So there's not been a new bank open. It's not legal to open a new bank. So if you want to be a banker in the state of Kentucky, you have to buy a small bank and turn it into a big bank. So, but the opposite happens in railroads. When a railroad seems to go away, that's it. It's gone. And instead of the Central Michigan, they come up with a new railroad called the Michigan Central. They start over.
Yeah. So what you been up to here lately, Bill? Besides just sitting there nice and quiet.
I'm muted. Oh, there we go. Nothing really. I haven't worked on my layout at all. So I put my extension on and a little bit of this and that, getting some road bed down and getting some track down. So.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like you're doing something. Doing nothing's not acceptable.
Yeah, I'm slowly but surely. It's more my winter hobby. So,
Yeah. It's starting to pick up. The colder it gets.
Tis the season, boys.
Yeah, the car's away for the winter, so good enough for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Mike last night, and that's a 2002 06, C06 that he's got, Corvette.
Yeah.
He said his was the, I think the 8th one off the line when they started producing those.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking one time a couple of years ago. He wanted me to run up there with him where they manufactured it. They give you a tour of the big tour of the plant and all that good stuff.
That's just a few miles away from me. It's right here close.
So, dude, are you working on yours yet, or just trying to clean up, get ready to get started?
Or are you going to give us some kind of excuse like Bill did?
Ha ha ha.
You can borrow my excuse if you like.
No, I'm eating right now, and then I've already got my computer up and fired up down there. And as soon as I'm done eating, I'm going to go down there and I'll see if the webcam will stay going.
Okay.
Last time.
Maybe run a train or two.
We will patiently wait.
Yeah. With bated breath.
You've already got the track plan for the new edition, right?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure people still like to see what your idea of what you might be doing. Since you've gotten more real estate now.
Real estate, real estate.
Yep.
Never can have enough real estate.
Yeah, my son told me all about the house next door and turned it into a train house.
No, is he buying it for you?
Yeah, yeah.
You seen Bruce Chubb's layout? New layout. It's run through the kitchen, over cabinets. It's run down the hallway. Go Google Bruce Chubb or the Sunset Valley lines on YouTube. It's like he bought I don't know if he did, but it's like he bought an additional house and just ran it through every room of the house.
Huh. Oh, Bob would like to see that one then.
Yeah.
Give him some ideas.
It's completely scenic and like 3 levels, and there is no way you could live in this house.
That's what you say. Evidently, he's not married.
Oh, no, well, I think he bought a house adjoining his house or something like that. Just bought an extra house or built a house or something and just took over the whole house. Because it's, like I said, it's through the kitchen, and he took everything out of the kitchen, but the cabinets are still under the scenic layout. And then he's got a couple tracks running through the bathroom, and he did on his old layout have them run through the bathroom, but you could go, it's like you could go sit on the john and switch that siding that's back there. It's like,
well, we got a guy here. He's actually on our Piedmont pilgrimage tour. His layout's in the basement. It takes up the whole basement. And there's a bathroom down there, and he's got 3 layers, 3 levels that run through the bathroom. So when you're sitting on the throne, you got a train that goes about maybe 8 inches above your head on the first level. Goes by. No switches in there. It's just a straight line.
yeah, just going through. I thought about going above the shower. I got those fiberglass shower built-ins, and I thought about going above them to take a track from part of my layout through to another room so that it could get to staging. But I accomplished a lot with my wife, but that seemed to be pushing the boundaries of with the Office of Real Estate Management. That was kind of a stretch.
Well, I'll admit I wasn't looking at the questions here. Professor, glad to see you made it in, and he actually has a couple of comments, but I'm going to throw this one up there. He said to watch many forums, you'd think that keeping an 8x1 shelf layout running smooth is stressful as enough.
Okay, yes, I hear people say that all the time. There's a Trainmaster TV article here recently about people tearing their layouts down. Even Lionel Strang, the Railroad Royalty, Lionel Strang. tearing his layout down because it was too hard to maintain. And I think that used to be a bigger problem. But if you build your railroad correctly, if you build it solid and use the right methods and maintain it correctly and build turnouts that are solid, I think you can build a pretty big railroad and it still be maintainable. Pretty big. I mean, you could definitely go too big. But, you know, there's some really good techniques for maintaining a railroad these days. Now, I mean, you got to do things like clean the scenery and stuff, but I think it's possible. I think it's possible to maintain a bigger railroad than people these days are implying. It's popular to build these really, really small railroads, but I really think you can build bigger and still maintain it. But it's all about design. You know, you got to design it to be easier to maintain. You got to design it to be very rigid and secure and solid. And you know, I'm building my track work, and
Well, there you go in the chat, Andy. Build it right, build it once, and enjoy forever.
yeah, absolutely. That's my philosophy as well. I think a lot of people either take shortcuts or use I think a lot of what these guys done back in the '80s, and I was guilty of it too, is using some of this stuff that didn't hold up as well, using turnouts that didn't hold up as well.
Yeah, well, he's also said take shortcuts or be too lazy about it, and you're digging your own grave.
Yep. But if you build a solid roadbed, wire it correctly, plan for the inevitable changes that you're going to make, so that you're not damaging the layout every time you make changes. I think you can build a layout that's infinitely more maintainable than what people give them credit for.
Yeah, another comment here by the professor is many show touring mobile layout builders already know this and actively put it into practice.
And actually, I think that too many people building permanent layouts don't take into account the lessons that have been learned by people building Primo or various other mobile layout standards. Those guys have figured out what it takes to build rock solid layouts. And honestly, if you built your layout much like the modular guys do, I think you would end up with a better railroad. I've built my layout in sections. It's definitely not portable, but if one of my sections if I need serious maintenance, I can pull a section out, take it to the workbench, sit down in a chair, and work on it.
Real quick, Dave, professor's at work. That's the reason why he's not on the panel. His latest comment that said it doesn't need to be overkill. Even foam core can be road rugged.
Yeah, and I don't think the professor's been on here to see how I built mine. My layout is Homosoak glued to foam core. That's my roadbed, laid on top of styrofoam. And that gives me a solid surface to hand lay and spike track to, and it gives me a dimensionally stable and secure material, whereas foam is not so much so. I am a huge fan of foam core. I use it to build these little small pseudo dioramas that most of my keys, at least key structures, little buildings I don't do this for, but key or nice structures, I build them, mount them on foam core, and then drop them into the layout with a little strip of foam core on the outside, so they're kind of key to set in spots. And then I can pick that building out, take it to the workbench and work on it or replace it. I think foam core is a great material, and for $1 at the dollar store you can buy a big old sheet of it. Foam core is an invaluable material. I mean, I know a lot of guys are using it. Gino and Rod Perret, they're building roads out of it. I'm using spackle.
Road sidewalks.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people are building. I think Miles was building buildings out of it and just gluing painted material or gluing printed material on it. So, I mean, foam core is incredible. Proscenium from foam core.
Yeah, because you got to use the construction stuff, Phil.
Oh, I agree. There's
He put a link up here, so
yeah, and
www.krmodels.com au /module.html.
yeah, you gotta check this out. I've seen these before. Have you seen Jim? You know Jim Lincoln, you guys. He was on one of our shows, and he's another model railroader royalty who's famous for incredible track work. He's on various video formats. He's on a lot of Scotty Mason, or on a recent Scotty Mason video, and he's been on Train Masters and stuff. Jim Lincoln is doing Proto 48, O-scale 2 rail, and has built it on modules structurally built out of gator board, I think. Might be foam core. Actually, he built some out of foam core. But there's also a material called gator board that is much like foam core but much more rigid than foam core. But Jim Lincoln built entire modules completely constructed out of foam core.
I want to jump in there real quick and kind of give a quick midpoint announcement. Thursday Hangouts are the proud sponsor of the YouTube Model Builders, the eMag, and the YouTube Model Builders live show. The website is youtubemodelbuilders.com. You can go to this website and get the schedules for the Tuesday night Hangouts, who's presenting, what their topic is, and also see the schedule for the live shows, which is the third Saturday of each month. We've got one coming up the 21st, which is 2 weeks from this Saturday. Also, the eMag comes out every other month. So when it comes out, you can go to the website, go ahead and sign up for a notification. When it comes out, you get a notification in the email, and that's a PDF, so you can pretty well download it on any platform and be able to read. JD and his team do a fantastic job on that magazine of putting it out. They're all the time looking for pictures and articles. Even if you think you can't write an article or not good at writing, that's okay. Write it, send it to them. They will get with you and polish it up and make it look good for you. So don't be shy. Send it in. Also, if you got any ideas for topics for Tuesday night or Thursday night Hangouts, you can go to the website and leave a message there. And we'll be glad to see what we can do, get them on the show. Because we are looking for topics. And that concludes the midpoint announcement. Back to y'all. And Dude's back. His camera is up. So, Dude, you want me to, I'll just present you for right now. If you just kind of want to give a update on what you're kind of looking at expanding.
Yeah, I could probably do that. Well, the helix where it comes through the wall there, I don't know. A lot of guys have seen my layout. My layout is inside that door. There's a room in there, and that's where my layout's at. I'll go over there in a second. But anyways, that helix is going to be moved, and I'm going to be taking this whole area from where the track comes through the door and the helix all the way to, turn you all the way around here, to this wall here. So the room is 25 feet by almost 12 feet, so like 11.6 or something like that.
Man, that's a lot of layout by itself, especially in addition to your existing layout.
Yeah, and it's going to be all tied into the existing layout too.
Right. When you walk from one room to another, so will you have to duck under when you go from one room to another?
No.
Just curious how you were going to handle that.
Yeah, cause see,
Nice pants, by the way. Love them.
The door's cut just right.
Yeah, he takes great pride in that door.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's gave me heck about it. Anyways, it'll be just like that because the door will be off of it.
Sure.
The existing, what I'm wanting to do is the track will come just start turning around the door.
Yeah.
And then it will come on through here, and then I'm going to do a lift out like right in here somewhere because this section over here I'm not going to put no trains. And so anyways, the lift out will be about right here. And then the upper deck will be the same way, but it's going to be a duck under.
Sure.
Because it's going to be high enough to, I can almost, because I'm going to raise it up, and it'll be where you could just walk underneath. I'm 5'11", so.
Well, with a good haircut, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mine is high enough. I call it a nod under. You just kind of have to lift your head a little bit.
But the river scene's going to stay the same. Where my yard is at.
Yeah, because half your yard's visible and the other half kind of comes out behind the helix, right?
Not much of it comes behind where the helix is at, but that's all the change. But anyways, all this right here, the whole river scene will stay. That peninsula will stay. All the way to the back side over there will stay.
Of course.
The whole yard is going to come up, and the yard will actually, the helix will be gone.
Yeah.
And then the yard will probably go through the wall over there. I don't know. I don't know what he's got planned there yet. But the yard, huh?
Yeah, and hide the opening with an overpass or something. Sure.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, you getting rid of the helix altogether, or just
Well,
going to move it?
We're going to see if we're going to have enough room where I can go around this room several times to make my elevation. If not, the helix, he says he'll tie the helix into like one of the peninsulas where part of the helix, it'll come out of the helix in some areas and then disappear. He's got a layout of his own that's like that. As a matter of fact, that was if you go back through all of our Hangout presentations, he shows that on that presentation, that whole layout.
There's those little windows, little views into the helix.
Yep. Yeah. And so we could use that existing helix. Or right over here behind me, there is another room. It's my laundry room, and I could put it in there. There's enough room where I could put the helix itself in that room.
Oh, that would be awesome. That'd be perfect. It's always hard to hide them, even in a peninsula, because it's still just a big.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think you may very well have enough room to go. I mean, a 25-foot room is a pretty long run, brother.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people on here envious.
And I'm gonna do this whole extension, open bench work, and I'm gonna do all spline. It's gonna be all spline.
Yeah, I'm doing spline on my peninsula, but I'm doing homosote spline so that the road bed and everything's all.
You and I had talked about that, but I looked into it, and it's going to cost me way too much here to do it.
Yeah, it's
going out of my budget.
Well, you're also using flex track, so homosote's not a requirement for you. I have to put homosote on top of mine anyway, so why not throw that out of homosote? But yeah, so masonite probably, right?
Yeah, that's probably what I'll go with.
Yeah, that's what Dave did on his layout. Did spline work there. Of course, he's in scale.
The roadbed, it just flows perfectly. I mean, there's no better way to do roadbed. It's absolutely the way to do it. Period.
And the nice thing is you just print out all of your sections and then cut them out and tape them all together.
Sure.
And when you start your one piece, you put your piece up there and you just follow that curve, and then every piece after that's going to follow that first one that you did.
Yeah.
Dude.
It gets hard and becomes rigid, and then you just go in and pop risers up underneath it and lay track on it.
Dude.
Johnny.
I hear you.
Oh.
Professor's got a question for you. What is the linear distance available and the desired elevation change?
25.
I'm assuming that's going to be for you.
I'm gonna guess because I don't have a tape measure. I mean, I have a tape measure around here somewhere,
Cat
but I
measure.
was tape measure.
You're not in the South. Quit trying to talk like me.
Hanging around you guys, it's got me to start having this darn accent. I don't know what it is.
You're
but
welcome, brother.
whatever.
You're welcome.
I think it's like
Yeah, about 62 feet. 25 feet down 2 walls and 12 feet along the back.
you're right. The top floor, the bottom deck is 44, and the top is 60. It's right around 62. Let me go get a tape measure.
40
All right, bye, Scott.
So you need to make up around 20, 22 inches. 60.
Bye.
That's what the professor's talking about. That would
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what professor says. The length of the room's 25 by 2 there and back.
We can go from this one. So from this upper track right here
Yep.
to here is 16 inches.
16. So you got 62 feet to make up.
So we could start the elevation from this one here
Sure.
and run it around, and it would go around and then hit the. That's why he's thinking about we might want to use that for the end of the peninsula so that you'll go all the way around again. I don't know how he has it set up yet, but
Right, so you got 62 feet around the room, but if you put a peninsula, you can easily gain another almost 20 feet times. You can gain about another 40-foot run.
yeah,
You'll have a 100-foot mainline run on one deck in there. You know, that's a pretty good long run. But that also gives you 62 plus around 40 feet, so around 102 feet to get that.
The only issue with this basement, and I think when I do the upper deck in here, I'm going to do it a little bit lower than that one.
Yeah.
Just because there's the ceiling.
Yeah, 7 feet or so. 7.
Yeah. So from that deck to the ceiling, I only have maybe, what was it, another 16 inches to work with. Yeah, another 16 inches.
Yeah. That's a little tight, but that's basically the distance I'm putting between my decks, and I'm modeling Appalachian mountain scenery, so you can do it. That's doable.
Yeah.
Buildings become a problem. You know, if you had grain elevators or something, that'd be a little touchy.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not having
Professor.
anything like that up there, but
Professor's comment. So we're talking a 1 in 33 grade, or right around 3% continuous.
That's pretty steep. I was thinking down to about 2%, but
yeah, because my helix is 1.78 on the outside, and then right at 2% on the inside track.
But what you could do is use about half of your helix in a peninsula and just go 2 or 3 turns or something to pick up some grade and lower that grade down some, but not have to go, 7, 8 turns. You could just go 3 or so.
Yeah, he posted another comment. 1 in 46 are a bit steeper than 2%.
That's what I was thinking. I didn't do the math on it. I was going to let the professor do that, but I was thinking about 2% is what made sense to me. Well, if you gave 12 inches at 100 feet, it would be 1%. So if you gave 2 feet, it is basically 100 feet. If you gained 2 feet, it would be 2%. So 16, and he only needs to go 16 inches. So in theory, if you went 18 inches in that 100 feet, it would be 1.5%. So it seems like, well, even without a helix, if you had a continuous grade, it would be around 1.5% if you had a peninsula.
What kind of width are you going to have on that, you think, Troy? Dude?
That was rough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's going to be, well, it's going to go from wall to wall, which is 11.6.
No, I mean
Oh,
yeah, you're gonna
the
have approximately 25-foot runs, but what's the width? I mean, you're gonna be 18 inches wide on your table or what?
probably 18 and some, no more than 24.
Yeah.
24 is touchy because in a corner it makes for about 28, 29-inch depth, and I've had a hard time reaching back there. I thought 24 would be fine, but I really wish I would have stuck with 20.
Yeah, I'm that far corner in my yard where I'm going to put my cement plant. Um, I'm just going to have to make sure when I put the track in there, I make them where I can get to them easily.
You got to have a step stool, kind of lean up.
Yeah, and I'm going to that kit that I put in there is going to be cut in half because I'm going to put it into the wall.
Good man.
Yeah, so I gives me more room, you know.
Looks bigger too because you can double it up. You can cut the kit in half and use it.
Yeah, yeah. So I was thinking about just getting some pictures of. There's a couple of them up in Spokane. I just haven't got around there when I've gone up there to take pictures. Take pictures of those factories that are right on the tracks and use them as background pictures behind it.
Good man.
You know, kind of set them up so that it looks like three-dimensional, so it looks like it's bigger than that it actually is.
Yeah, that's what Mike Confalone done for his photo backdrops. Is he just went out and took pictures and had them printed. And I checked with the local Photoshop, photo printing or the printing company around here, and they'll print me. They'll print me 18, or I think it's 20-inch wide paper, and they've got a roll that's like 300 feet long, so they can print as long as 300 feet. It's a few dollars a foot. So you could easily take Photoshop, stitch a couple pictures together, and have 8, 10 feet of that printed. You wouldn't have $30 in it.
Andy.
Yep.
Here's one up here in the chat for you.
Oh yeah, I read that, and I agree that 16 inches is a little bit tight. I'm building a prep plant, and it has to be about 20 or 22 inches tall. So what I've done, since I only have about 14 inches between those decks, is my back deck is only about 8 inches deep, or the top deck is only 8 inches deep, and the front deck is 2 feet deep, or 2 feet deep. Yeah. So my prep plant is out front against the aisle, so it can raise above the height separation of that back deck. But you have to really take those decks into account. So on my main bottom deck, there's a 2-foot deck, and then back in the back and above it, there's an 8 to 10 inch wide shelf back there. Under that shelf, I'm putting a river. So it's reduced below that shelf, and you can look back into there, and you're looking down into the river valley, and it makes that space look much better. Instead of the mountain rising up to almost meet that deck, it's fading away from the aisle down to a valley that's down there at the back of that deck. Now, I did not do that on my top 2 decks, and I have to have a little bit more. I have to have a little bit more spacing there, but yeah, you really got to take that into account. And my prep plant will rise above the space difference between those 2 decks, but it will be out in front of it.
Oh, before we get too far along, and the professor might have to go back to work, Dave and I both would, if you would, you can contact Dave through YouTubeMallBuilders.com. I understand you're at work at this time. If you want to contact him and see if we can set up a time that's doable for you, and maybe do a show around your time. If you want, you can contact us and let us know. That's for the professor. All right. Professor, if navigators can get away with it, punchy scale height trees up into the Persarium, a law. He's got a link up here.
What's that?
What are you laughing about?
Professor's comment. Why
Oh, I
can't
can't.
it? Why can't SG Maulers punch coal tipples and things up into the roof in similar fashion?
Johnny, I'm screen sharing the photo he was linking to.
Oh, yeah, dude, you got time? You need to come see this one.
Okay, hold on here.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, them some big trees too.
Oh, they'd be that could be 3 feet tall, but you don't need to see all of that.
No, I mean he's got some big trunks on them trees too. I wonder what gauge that is.
Probably 0 and 30 or 0 and 3.
There's a model. It's a narrow gauge like that. It's called Timber something, and it's out of Seattle, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, the detail,
Yeah, Jim probably get back around to another picture where you can see that going into the ceiling. Yeah, right there.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's
Troy needs to see that.
Troy would. Yeah, Troy would.
His wife would have a fit.
It'd be easy for him to recreate it. That's really the benefit of a valance. Is it? I mean, that you can hide that stuff. A valance is. I mean, that's gorgeous, and it suits the bill. I mean, when you're looking at it at eye level, you feel like those trees should be 3 feet tall, but you don't need to model all that.
That is one nice layout. Anybody else got any questions? Oh, okay. That's Red Stag Lumber Company ON30 from Sydney, Australia.
I figured it was
Oh,
up to 30.
so that's 30. Yeah.
ON3, I mean.
Yeah, I went 3. Okay, I figured it was one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, another comment from the professor was put the two comments together. If narrow gaugers can get the trees up into the roof of a module, why can't the standard gaugers do the same thing with temples and such?
You could. I
Yeah.
want to see all of my prep plant, but yeah, there's no reason why part of it couldn't disappear. All you need to see is track level.
Oh, he had a comment up here later on. I think he would like to see dude do a duck under with a camera.
This is my chair that I go, see? I can sit on this chair and go right underneath there with no problem. And then I can move anywhere I want in my whole layout. And if I need to go up, there, now I'm higher. So when I need to go underneath into the helix or whatever, I got my track cleaner again running in front of my main line, keeping it clean.
Oh, dude, did you hear? No, you didn't. Uh, Phil over here was asking if anybody knew of a good software for doing custom decals. You got? I told him to get in touch with Gino.
Yes, you did. Yeah, because that's who I would have said. Matter of fact, I don't think I ever shared those. I don't know what software he uses, but he says it's. I want to say he told me that it was the free software. You don't have to pay for it, and then. But here a while back, just before summer got in, I asked him if he could make me two, and he said he sure would. And I don't think Johnny, I don't think you've ever seen these. I still got to fix the couplers and the wheels and stuff. But anyways, here's one that he did. That's not very good light. Let me.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. It's getting better. Yeah. Graffiti, is that?
And then it's white YouTube model builders.
Oh, okay.
Decal.
Awesome.
Yeah, the light's not good enough for it to focus that close.
Yeah. That's one that he did, and those are decals that he did on his computer. Even the graphics, the whatchamacallit, he just picked a picture off the internet, and boom, this is what he came up with. And then this is the other one that he did for me. It's got my logo on it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
Maybe he could do his Tuesday show 1 month on how to do that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty valuable.
Well, Dwight's got a question up here, and I think it's for you, dude. What are you
Okay.
using for your track cleaner?
Um,
He said
that
Dave, but
oh well, that is a centerline car, um, and it has a springable like a bright boy on it. Really, it's almost just like an eraser, but there's no hardly any
grit.
grip, grit to it at all. And the nice thing about that is I can take it off and see how dirty the track actually is, and then take my fingernail or I take a pin or a penny and scrape off all the black stuff, and then go to do it again. And they're replaceable pads. I mean, that's
You remember where you got that?
yeah. I got it on. I think that one there I got at my train store. But it's in the just go to Walther's. Anybody that sells Walther stuff, it's there.
YouTube video on a guy making one, and I built one years ago, and he just took a masonite pad and wrapped
Yeah, I did too.
and took 2 ink pen springs and run 2 screws down through the deck of the car down into that masonite so it let it be springy a little bit. Wrapped cloth around that piece of masonite and soaked it in alcohol, which is all I use on my track. It's just alcohol. No
Train line. I'm sorry, it's train line. Walther's train line, and it is.
Yeah.
A little blurred for me, but
Burlington Northern track cleaning car from Walther's Train Line. But you can build it on about anything with a couple 2 screws, 2 ink pen springs, and
well, you know, I had one that it was all brass. It weighed a ton.
Oh, it's like $200 though.
Well, I got this one on eBay for like $65, brand new, never used. The brass one that has the wheel that's offset, and you put, and it scrubs because it keeps tripping over because it's on an angle.
Yep.
So it's trying to turn straight. But anyways, that was the best track cleaning car I ever had, and now they're really hard to find, and then they're over $200.
Yeah, I've looked at them, and they are awesome, and everybody raves about them.
what are you trying to do? Just replace the roller part of it, or?
No, buying the whole car is like $200. And Tam Valley has a video on his channel about using that car to clean their track work with. It is a great piece of equipment, but like he says, it's like $200 right now, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what'd you do with the one that you had that you bought for $60? Dude, what did you do with the one that you bought for $60?
Oh, that was a long time ago, and I sold all of my train stuff and gave my layout away to the local club and all the track. And I did. The only thing I kept out of my existing stuff was a train and then some rolling stock. So if I ever wanted to get back into it, I had something to. So that's where it went.
You must have met a girl.
No, I got into RC cars. I met the RC industry.
Well, what do you think about using dust bunnies on a few of your rolling stock? Yeah, those are the ones that you put on the wheel axle, so they just rub the track as you're going.
I don't know. I've never used them. I would say if you're in a really dusty climate, which I'm not down here, because the humidity is just the humidity is just right. It keeps the dust down in here. So the only thing I would say probably maybe cat hair.
All those things, in my experience, wear down the rail over time. So I'm a real fan of just using chemicals. The
dust bunny actually, it connects to the axle, and it doesn't really have any pressure on that rail at all, and it's just kind of bouncing along. Just riding the top of the rail. It should not cause any wear or scratches at all on the rail. How you doing, DeBob?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I can see the benefit in that. Something we don't talk about a lot, but is a real problem with DCC, is because of the way DCC transmits electricity, it causes a problem with carbonization. There's a slight arc as wheels, conductive wheels on locomotives and illuminated passenger cars and cabooses and all that stuff, as they gain electricity and lose electricity, even in places where you don't see the light flash, as they go across one block, or they go across a dirty section, or they go across an insulated section, or whatever, as they gain and lose electricity, there's a really small micro arc that happens in there, and that little blue arc of electricity causes carbonization on the rails. It carbonizes the dirt, and that's really hard to clean. Do it abrasively, but it really, really wears on your rails over time. And especially with DCC, it's true with DC as well, but more so with DCC, you've got to get that carbonization off the rails. And it takes a pretty tough chemical to do it, but denatured alcohol will do the deed. But
what's that stuff that you wipe it onto and then you let it dry, and then you wipe it off again after it dries, and then it puts like it's a chemical that you put on the track, and then everybody said that you never have to clean your track again.
Oh yeah, it helps the electrical conductivity. I know what you're talking about.
Well, it doesn't. It allows it to be a perfect conductor, so that there is no arcing and no carbon buildup. And people don't realize carbon, when you run plastic wheels, carbon will attach to the plastic wheels and then transfer it all around the layout.
Absolutely.
Metal wheels, it's not as bad, but it still does.
Yeah.
But that's what you want to stop, is the carbonization of the arcing.
Absolutely.
If you took a magnifying glass and you went and watched all your wheels, you'd see it constantly. Well, turn the lights off. Sometimes you can see it. I mean,
I've tried my best to get down there and try to see it. I know it's happening, but if you get down there and see that little blue arc, it's happening all the time.
Yeah. And sometimes worse than others.
The professor says CRC or NOx. I think I've heard it called NOx.
Yeah.
No lock. Yeah, no locks.
Yeah, I've heard of that before, and that would work.
Yeah, because we use that around the chicken farm when we were putting electrical wires together. Because we had some copper wire, and that kept the copper and the
together. Is that together?
Yeah, copper and aluminum wiring. So when we had to connect the two, we used the no locks to keep them from corroding and oxidizing each other. But it's kind of slippery, so like, if dude was to even put just a very slight amount on that helix area, his train will not go up it. I found that out because out there at the storage, just that one little incline we got, we used to have a fellow, and he said, this oil I got improves your traction and electrical conductivity, and he put it on there, and the trains wouldn't climb the incline. Then Wednesday night, I get out there, and Brian goes, "You can't go up the incline. You're going to have to clean it again." He put that oil on there.
Yeah.
Have to climb up there and clean that thing off.
And
I've heard numerous of...
To make the grade more slippery, so that it's harder to get a train up the grade, just like the prototype. You have to use a helper. There's also that product called Bull Snot or something like that.
He put that on there, and we couldn't get a train up the incline.
Yeah, just clean rails is probably a better thing. Somebody on here has mentioned, Professor, he's mentioned using graphite, and I have bought the graphite sticks myself, and I'll tell you, I love them, and especially around turnouts. That is the best thing in the world to clean the track and to lube a turnout with, is graphite. It's electrically conductive, and graphite's just handy anyway. I used to put it in coupler pockets years ago. Every time I put a coupler together, and I do now with my Surgent couplers. When I build the Surgent couplers, there's a little bearing goes in there, and I put the least little shot of graphite while I'm doing it. But it does make the rail slick.
White graphite powder.
Make it slick.
Well, these are graphite sticks. Hang on, I'll show you one.
It's not a powder that you're using.
No, I could shave it into a powder, but it's artists' sticks, like what they would use to I don't know, to do artists crap with. But I rub it straight on the rails, just like it is. So it's just a stick of graphite, come in 3 different densities. I really like this is medium, and I really like the soft. And I just rub it on the tops of the rails. This one hasn't been used, but I mean it comes off on your fingers, just touching it, and but you can rub it just gently. Don't put any pressure on it because then it's abrasive. I just rub it along the tops of the rails, this way, and then when I get to a turnout, I don't go like this because it'll tear the points out. I kind of go at an angle, and it puts a little bit of graphite down in between the points and under the points, and then the points move and have that, that reduced friction, and they're lubing the points. But it's also electrically conductive and improves the conductivity inside the points. I will say it is slippery, and my locomotives and equipment under enough weight do slip more. And for some people, that's a problem. But for me, I like that. Again, I think I've said this 1,000 times on here. Modern locomotives, modern HO scale model locomotives pull too much. So I do things to make them do. I put more weight in my cars, and I make everything slicker, so that they can pull less effectively.
Yeah, but when it gets so slick, you don't want to move at all. That's just a little too much.
Yeah, there's a balance. You got to find that little sweet spot. And the sweet spot for me is one locomotive should be able to pull about 16 or 18 cars, and with a helper, 35. If that won't go, then it don't work. But if one locomotive can pull 30, which it can, one of these Broadway Limited Y6Bs, it's a 2882. One of them can pull 30. Very heavily weighted cars. I mean, my coal cars are 12 ounces, and it can pull 30 of those up a 3% grade without any problem. And that's not, one, it's not prototypical, and two, it doesn't help. It's just not fun to operate if it's easy. So in my case, if the lead locomotive and the helper locomotive, the guys running those locomotives, don't work together, they can't get up the hill. And that would have been true on the prototype, and it's true on my model. And slick track makes that possible.
Bob?
Yeah.
You might want to do a Google search on Red Stag Lumber Company. It's ON30 from Sydney, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at that thing sometime.
Red Stag.
Red Stag Lumber Company.
There's a link there in the chat.
I don't think Bob can get to the chat.
No, I posted one in our chat.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. The photo bucket?
Yeah. He found it.
That's some big trees.
That's a nice layout. Yeah, talking about the centerline cleaning cars, Professor put in here centerline CMX track cleaner. Yeah, the website is centerlineproducts.com /catalog.html number, or the pound sign, HO2.
While we were talking about that, I went to Walters and did a search for track cleaning cars.
Yep.
The only thing that they had in stock was a clip-on pad that went on your bottom of your boxcar.
Yeah, I'm telling you, search YouTube for it. There's several people who have, and I've watched them, have made it with a stick of masonite and 2 screws. And it's everything a person needs to clean track with. I mean, it's better to just buy it and run it and be done with it. But you can make one on any car you want. And does a job. I mean, I bought one years and years ago that was no better than what this guy had made on you that showed off on YouTube. By the way, Johnny, you know that little symbol you were talking about? You called a pound symbol or a number symbol?
Yeah.
Trivia question for the night. Anybody know what that thing's called?
Oh, jeez. It's a musical thing. It's
Tic-tac-toe.
tic-tac-toe board.
Yeah.
And it was invented in the telephony industry, and the Brits designed most of those standards. It's called an octothorpe.
Octothorpe.
Octothorpe. We commonly call it a pound or a hash. It's a very common name.
And you think this bald-headed old man is going to be able to keep that word in? Okay.
Octothorpe.
But apparently Google does not like me calling it an octothorpe. Well, I quit bad-mouthing Google because every time I do, they kick me out.
They're watching you.
They just kick you out again.
Yeah, they did. If every time you badmouth Google, they kick you out, it starts to become obvious. Now I'm saying I praise the overlords of Google. Please don't kick me out.
Well, you know what's funny about that is you're on there twice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
The other one just hasn't dropped yet.
It will.
Yeah.
See, look at there though. You get two of me. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't seem very excited, but okay.
There he goes.
There I go. Yeah.
He gone. He's still here, but he's gone.
Yeah, I'm here in spirit. Hey,
Yeah, they do have a list of words that does automatic flag, and sometimes you say something that's not even a bad word, but it still gets red flagged.
oh yeah, or like YouTube videos that have audio you've purchased on them, but they flag them as copyright infringement. So you gotta, it's weird. Hey, I got a question for you, dude. Since you weren't on here earlier, actually a couple of guys weren't on here earlier. So, but I used to years ago. If you don't mind me asking this question again, Johnny.
Yeah, go ahead.
Years ago, we used to cut my track, and for electrically isolating. And what I do is take take a Dremel, saw through the rail, stick a little piece of thin styrene sheet in there, glue it in with CA glue, chop it off, and cut it down to the profile of the rail so that it would electrically isolate the rails. I have to file that so fine now because I'm putting these little fish plates or bolt plates on, so I've got to file it to the profile of the rail, and everything I'm doing, it pops that plastic out of there. You got any suggestions for one of two things? Either a glue, one of the guys suggested epoxy, and that seems a little tough because there's not a lot of surface area for the epoxy to bond to. Some kind of glue to glue that CA in there so that it won't pop out when I electrically isolate the rails and put it in there. Or is there some other way you can think of, or that you've done, that you can electrically isolate rails where you cut that little gap in the rails? I need something else to fill that hole up with.
Oh boy.
Yours. How are you electrically isolated? Are you using insulated rail joiners or?
Yeah, I'm using rail joiners. That's the easiest route.
Yeah, I'm not even using metal rail joiners.
I mean, I'll tell you what's funny, and this is an old man. When I first got into trains, an old man had a O scale, was an O S scale layout in his basement.
Yeah.
And he hand laid all of his own track.
Cool.
Which is kind of not really done a lot in that scale, you know?
Right.
But every single section, I don't know if they were 24-inch pieces of rail or or what, he put an isolated joiner between each rail, every rail.
I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Every section of rail is electrically isolated, and
he says, he goes, and then he would put like 2 feeder or 3, I don't remember how long they were, the rails, but then he would put 2 or 3 feeder wires per rail.
Yeah, let me show you. I'm laying rails now, so I got a section of rail here, for example, that's ready to be glued down, and it is electrically isolated from the rails around it, and it has 2 feeders on it.
Oh, okay.
So one from each side. And the reason I do that is if I want to come back and cut it so I can electrically isolate it, it's fed from both sides. So all of my rails, like this one's 3 feet long, and it's, like I said, it's there in place and ready to be glued, but it has 2 feeders, one on, at each end I put a feeder.
If I was going to... Oh, that's odd.
What
On
happens,
one of my trains going down my helix, it's like they're putting the brakes on.
Well, there's little men in there.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like brakes dragging, coming down the helix. And it's actually catching up to my cleaning car. Yeah, I better slow something down or speed something up. Wow.
Are you using radio, dude?
Using radio.
Yeah, on your throttles.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Not yet.
I don't know if it's the same thing for hardwired on Digitrax, but I know with mine, if I'm on a layout that has radio, if I don't do something on the cab, about every 2 minutes it loses it, and I have to go back and reinitialize with the command module.
Are you sure it's the duplex and not just infrared?
Yeah, I'm on the radio. I'm not on the infrared.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's only one layout I've been to that had infrared. It drove me nuts.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, mine's a duplex cab because it had infrared and radio, but most of the ones I go to that they're using, they've all been radios.
Yeah.
But you being hardwired, you don't ever lose control, do you? If you don't.
Well, before I got 2 radios or 2 throttles, I would unplug and then go to another plug and never had a problem either. And I don't have batteries in my radios either.
Yeah, because mine is just, when I get to a layout, I have to plug it in just for the initial, handshake and everything. But then once I got a train running, if I don't, turn the knob at least 1 click or 2 clicks and then come back about every 2 minutes or so, if I wait about 4 or 5 minutes and then go back try to control the train, I have no control. I have to plug in real quick.
Yeah, that's weird.
It takes a second or 2 for it to reinitialize, but
I wonder if maybe the battery inside of it's getting low inside your throttle.
no, I'm good about changing them every year.
Huh.
I mean, this thing doesn't get used that much, and when I'm not used, I take the battery out, flip it around like they say, put it back in.
Yeah.
That essentially has the batteries off. No drain on it. I may get adventurous one day and get a little micro switch and put an on-off switch at the top of it or off to
Yeah.
the side. Well, I can't put it on top because one side I've got an infrared sensor. The other side's got a flashlight on it.
Yeah.
And my pigtail, I think, is the antenna anyway.
They got a little
Yeah.
aftermarket kit for that thing now, though, that will convert it into a rechargeable battery and put an auto on-off on the battery too, so you can charge it at with a charging plug, and it's all just a little third-party kit that you can add to it.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh-oh, Bob's got a play toy.
Yeah, I do.
A new camera.
No, I've got a gimbal.
Gimbal.
A what?
Gimbal, 3-axis gimbal.
Let me see.
That's crazy. I just broke my gimbal today on the drone. Just bought that drone and just broke the gimbal on it today. Had to order.
Okay, now wait a minute. What is a gimbal?
It turns in 3 ways and keeps the camera directly level no matter how you turn it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is in follow mode. If I put it in lock mode, no matter where I turn it, camera's always going to stay in the front. Turn it back here, stays following the direction that it was pointing when you set it up.
Can you still see the screen on the back of the camera?
I don't have a screen on the back.
Oh, you don't?
Use a cell phone.
Hmm.
And this one here just kind of follows and keeps the same perspective, but it locks the...
Oh, so that's the same thing that like they used to use, or they still use at football games, where the guy holding the camera can run down and that camera stays perfectly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they got them on drones too, Dave.
Oh, is that what they put on drones?
Yeah, that's what they use on the drones, so you can control
okay.
the camera.
That's what's on the bottom of it. I just bought a drone. I just got it in yesterday and flew it yesterday, and they got out and flew it today, and they crashed the sucker and broke the gimbal. So I had to order a replacement gimbal for it today, $409.
Ow.
Yeah, bought it, got it in yesterday, $1,200 drone. Crashed it today, $409. But I've learned you got to learn how to deal with it. You don't fly them low all the time. You got to fly them way up high so they have a chance to correct. Because it got caught in the wind and blew over a little bit, but there wasn't enough time for it to correct before before the ground came up and made it.
Yeah.
I was recording video at the time though, so it's a pretty interesting video to watch that thing just tumble.
It's a little scary all the way down, though.
Yeah, after watching it and knowing how much the thing costs and stuff, all I do is see money go out the way. Every time it turns over, there's $30 more, $30 more, $50 more. Bam! All right, $410.
I can basically turn the gimbal off as well, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Free
just
running. So I can turn it whatever direction I want.
got like what, 4, 6 different modes on it?
Yeah, I think I had like 6 different options I could pick.
There's a guy over in England got one last year for Christmas. Wordsworth. He's got a nice layout, and he got it so he could do videos on his layout, kind of like helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen one other guy here. I think he's a young fella. He's done a helicopter view of his layout. When you're watching his video, though, he's got the helicopter sound and everything. And you see him just banking it around, going around the curves and all.
Yeah, it's really only 4 modes. There's a reset and a standby mode, which really isn't much of a mode. But I can do a heading follow mode, heading and pitch follow mode, the inversion mode, where it turns the camera upside down, so you can put stuff down or whatever, different orientation. Mount your camera upside down in it. And then heading lock mode. So yeah, we've taken it to Drain Fest here next weekend. Get some better video on it.
Yeah. Andy, look at the chat. The blue part. That's for you.
Yeah, I'll go pull that up. It don't take 20 seconds. I think my tumble was about 3 or 4.
Well, you know, Ron dropped his camera during the show Tuesday, and somebody put in the chat, says, now you know what your locomotive sees when it's going towards the floor off the layout. Yeah, you can use that on yours going around the house too.
Yep.
Be able to video it.
My camera decided it was going to stay out of focus. Come on.
Yeah, at least now you don't have to walk around on stilts when you want to take pictures.
Yeah, well, I've got a 30-inch extension to go with it, so it's real easy.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, my biggest problem with the normal mount is that it makes too much noise. You hear all the little creaky noises and everything else when you move, even though you don't really hear anything making noise. The camera picks it all up.
Yeah, just the plastic kind of moving.
Yeah. And where this isn't going to make hardly any noise, if anything. I can never hear anything when it's operating. You know, in case I turn it a little bit too far and I bang my camera up against it or something. Kind of like right down in there.
Yeah.
Hit the gimbal. But if you keep it out like this, it's pretty much not going to hit it. It's going to stay out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah, ballpark on that's what, about between 400 and 500?
Well, the camera itself is around between $425 to $500. The gimbal, this is one of the newer ones, the GS4. So I picked this one up for $259 plus the extension rods.
All right, Dave.
You can still get them probably a little bit cheaper on eBay, but Amazon was actually going to be delivering it a lot faster than waiting for China to send it to me.
Yeah.
So I chose to spend the extra money for China not to send it to me. And I got it in like 4 or 5 days. So far, I like it.
Oh, they're nice.
Mm-hmm.
If you have somebody's layout, you want to film it. Makes it a lot easier to get up over on top, you know, without getting down and them sitting there in the big sweat worrying if you're going to knock something over.
Yeah, I get right down into the weeds with it, you know.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. You know, there's a lot of things on a layout that the guys see from the inside of that traveling layout. And when looking out at the crowd, they can see different things and details that we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't let you get in real close sometimes to actually lean over or whatever. So with the camera, I can get down a little bit in a different perspective. And
Yeah.
that's something that most people don't get to see, so try and show them something different.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, you got reverse mode, so you turn the camera upside down and then hold it,
Mhm.
the handles vertically up over the camera, and still be able to use it.
Yep, that's reverse mode there.
Oh, is it?
Just flips it over, and then I can go like that.
Yeah.
I'll just take the camera, flip it over, and away you go.
I'll say just you click a trigger so many times to get to different modes.
Yeah, I just hit the button 4 times to reset it, 3 times to go into inverse mode. One press for the heading follow mode, and 2 presses for the heading and pitch follow mode.
Yeah.
And there's a press for 1 second. You get the heading lock mode. Then if you just press it for 3 seconds, it just puts it in standby and it's free moving. So yeah.
Well, it's that time of night again.
Oh.
So, somebody do a song and dance while I'm setting up. There's so many clicks you gotta get to just to get this. Okay. All right, where'd everybody go? Well, I thought I'd stop presenting you.
Now you're presenting.
Yeah, it killed my screen share. All right, now we'll get it. For the viewers out there and anyone on the panel, if you ever notice, hopefully this works for the people in the Q&A. If you take your cursor and go straight up to where your camera, microphone, and all that is, over to the far left, you'll see a little square box with a solid white box inside. If you click on that, that removes all the cameras at the bottom of the screen, so you can really see the full screen and get a better view of what somebody's presenting. Well, we've had another good show, good topics. Kind of went back and touched on the Tuesday night show about use of cardboard strips to help build mountains with when you have to do really large areas. Real quick again for the professor, hopefully you're still here. Yeah, if you would get in touch with us through YouTubeModelBuilders.com, because we'd like to get you on the show. So we'll see what we can do to work the timetable for you to make it possible. Thank you, Dwight. I appreciate that. He thinks I'm a professional. I try to act that way anyway. Okay, keep checking in on the YouTubeModelBuilders.com website for all the latest news and info on the Tuesday night presentations, the EMAG, and the live show schedules. Live show, we've got one coming up on 21st this month. The live show is once every month, usually the third Saturday. The EMAG is every other month. And then the Tuesday presentations is every Tuesday of each week. And they do have a schedule there because you got Dude, Troy, Gino, and Barry. Each one takes a week, so they're doing one show a month. And they have a subject and their guest on there, so you can get the schedule, see who's going to be doing what and when. Thursday nights, as everybody knows, is a general hangout each week as well. You can go to the website and sign up for the EMAG, be notified when it comes out. It's PDF, so you can download it, read it at your leisure. And it is well worth reading because JD and his crew really do a good job on that. And they are looking for, pictures, train pictures, layout pictures, and articles, or just topics. If you like to see something specific in print, you can leave them a message at YouTubeModelBuilders.com, and they're looking for articles. So even if you're don't think you can really write an article, write something up, send it in, and they'll be glad to work with you and get it into something that you'll be happy with and print it up. And I want to say thank you for participating, for everyone on the panel for participating. I appreciate the viewers that were in here tonight. Appreciate the questions. Dwight, it's good to see you in here again. Professor, glad to see you back with us again tonight. And hopefully we might be able to work out times table that we can have a show with you on. So with that said, I will have to say that this is another show that's in the can, and we will see you next week, same time, same day, same channel.